Our speaker today, after 32 years as a volunteer and programs manager at the Living Coast Discovery Center in Chula Vista, Tina Matthias will share with us how neighborhoods are joining together to lessen their carbon footprint and divert foods from local landfills. The Living Coast Discovery Center is in Chula Vista at the very west end of East Street. I'm a third generation Chula Vista and I grew up here. For us, kids, when in the 1960s or the 70s, I should say, is where we would go to hang out. But it's been fenced off and is a living coastal interpretive center now, very nice. In 1987 became the Chula Vista Nature Center, and then it was not nonprofit. And most of the time, Ms. Matthias has been there. The area is really interesting. In 1913, the Hercules gunpowder factory was associated there. So it's called Gunpowder Point. And they made gunpowder there. From the kelp, they got potash and acetone. And they made gunpowder and cordite, which is a gunpowder that was smokeless that they used in Britain. They did it for 6 years during World War I. And the slab's still there. It's an interesting piece of history, but almost all of the marine area or the marsh area in Chula Vista has been opened up to wildlife. And it's just a birder's paradise. And it's just beautiful and wonderful. I'm gonna turn it over to you, Tina. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for the introduction. And let me see if I could do this. I'm going to push my share. You guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm hoping, now this is my main screen. Okay, so what you are seeing is a large banner that I created for our neighborhood after the first couple of weeks of COVID and realizing that we're not going back anytime soon. So this is a support and this is, and also I love talking to everyone without their mask on. So thank you so much. Seeing expressions and faces. Oh, wow. And so many people. Let's see if I could go. Perfect. So the South Bay, a little bit about myself. I am the co-founder and CEO of the South Bay Sustainable Communities Network, which is a pending nonprofit. This was a pilot program that I ran for a year. And I am a sustainable commissioner for the city of Chula Vista. Also, you heard Michelle talk to you about a little bit about my experiences at the Living Coast Discovery Center. During this time at the Discovery Center, we created the cleanup, Team Up to Cleanup, which is community cleanup, also hosted zero waste events, and with trash talkers, sorting trash on and off site, and organized restoration projects on the refuge. And that's actually where the center is located, is on the refuge. South Bay has several different refuges, and it's a great place to go visit if you ever get a chance to and you're in San Diego. So what inspired me to create this Green Community Vance Street is that it was a need to make sustainable choices or changes now in our daily lives that will create a positive impact for future generations. What people don't realize is on average, Americans generate over 4 pounds of trash daily, and 18% of that is food waste. And there are more than 3,500 landfills across the country, creating the second largest source of human-related methane gas production. And many people don't realize methane is produced by decomposition of organic waste, food scraps, leaves, grass, etc. in our landfills. And methane is up to 80% more toxic in our atmosphere than CO2. You always hear about CO2, driving cars, so on and so forth. In California, organic waste accounts for more than 1/3 of the materials in our California waste stream. On top of that, California landfills are filling up at a rapid rate, and Chula Vista is predicted to close by 2028 if we continue to dispose of trash at the current rate that we are in. California law also has set targets for the cities to comply at 50% reduction of organic waste in our landfills by 2022, 2 years from now, and the target of 75% by 2025. That's not that long of a time future, not too far in the future. California needs community composting programs to help California meet its goals, as well as a healthy and sustainable lifestyle. Oops. Oh, I'm totally missing a page. Hang on a second, guys. Something went out of order. Okay, I will go through this one, just on my head. So our neighborhood, can you guys all hear me? Yes, okay. So our neighborhood, as we have done this together through our neighborhood, we have composted 2,827 pounds of food scraps in one calendar year. We started June of last year and completed ours, did all our data, and have an amazing amount of diversion from the landfills. And how we do this is that we have lead composter. That's what I'm trying. A lead composter or someone who in the neighborhood would like to host the compost bins, and all the food scraps from the neighborhood comes there. So everyone has in their neighborhood or in their home a little container. And that container they fill up, and then they walk it down to our bins that are by our tree, the front of our house, as you can see there, next to the sidewalk. Once those are filled, we take them to the back, we bring out new ones. And about every other week or so, we go ahead and compost those. And then we turn that back to the neighborhood, return that back into the neighborhood as compost for their gardens. So it's a great way for getting back into nature, and a great way for the community to get involved and to take make sustainable efforts and choices. Okay. The green community, like I said, began 10 years ago. And what we do began 1 year ago. And what we do is each neighbor takes a survey as part of it. And then they are received a one-on-one education about energy reduction, water reduction, waste reduction of single-use plastics, and also purchasing in bulk, transportation for CO2, reduction of CO2, and also food waste reduction, drop-off site like at our house. And this year we had 10. We hope that by going through other neighborhoods, they're averaging about 10 to 15. That's a good average. And then they also each neighbor would take a pledge. And they take this pledge to become sustainable by reducing, reusing, repurposing, the 4 R's, and recycling. So all that is taught within this community. The neighborhood kit that they get is filled with a whole bunch of information that helps them out. And their benefits. So it talks about the composting, why we're doing it, and the benefits, what and what not to compost. Also, Climate Action Challenge is something that the city of Chula Vista has on, and if you guys can see this, you could actually go to the website, and it encourages each neighbor or each citizen of Chula Vista to participate and track their efforts and track their action to reduce their environmental impact and their carbon footprint. So the website's right there. You guys can go ahead and do that. You will notice that we are on there as Green Community Chula Vista, Green Community Vance Street, because that's the street that we're on, okay, as a group. We also tell them how to drop off their food scraps, and there are times where we have a couple of seniors where I actually go on certain days and go pick up their food scraps and then exchange it for new containers. So we do that with them too. And for those of let's see, the Green Community League contact information, yes, there are also green contact information so that everyone will be able to contact their leader, and also to take a deposit if they want, like a $10 deposit. The city of Chula Vista has provided us with these beautiful, cute little countertop compost collection bins that you can buy online for up to $30. And we just take a deposit because after 3 months, we want them to get into a habit, and we give them their $10 back. But I could say that most everyone just wants to have their own little container, and it could be something like a potato container, you know, a potato salad container, anything like that. So plastic container, put a lid on it, keeps all the bugs out. I've never had a bug since I've been doing this program, and that's the best way, easiest way too, and plus you're also reusing. Okay. We create a monthly food log from all the food scraps collected, and we weigh each container before we put them in. And like I said, we usually turn our containers about every 2 weeks. Collections of the food waste and weight we collect it in a 5-gallon bin, and the average temperature of these compost bins are 100 to 140 of ours today is 125. I did check right before we came. And what we have learned over the years that fruit labels are not compostable, fruit tags. Also, K-cups that are marked as compostable are not compostable in backyard composting. Okay. Organics break down faster when they are also cut up, and instead of putting a whole apple in, easier to cut it up, it decomposes faster. Okay. So fun things that we've learned. Also, neighbors pick up their compost from the gardens after it's weighed. We do this, what we call sifting. We sift our compost, and that means we're taking out the good compost down below that's broken down, and there's still pieces that have not broken down yet, and we throw those back in. That sifting takes place about 5 to 6 times a year. And this year we are estimating that we will pull about 90 pounds of compost on average per shift. Last year it was about 312, I believe I said earlier. And this year, because of the amounts that we're getting, and people from other areas are starting to bring their compost to us, it has gotten quite a bit bigger, which is great because, you know, compost is wonderful. It looks, feels, and smells like rich, dark dirt. That's the method that we use when we know that it is ready to be put into gardens and mature enough to be. And it enriches our dirt and our soils for our gardens. So it is a great way to get back into, give back to the ground and our soils. Okay. We also teach about vermicomposting, and this is wonderful if you have kids. We have kids in the neighborhood, and after we got this program going, we introduced the vermicomposting. Next thing you know, we had the neighborhoods that had the neighbors that had kids. We want to do this in our neighborhood, or in our backyard. So we ended up teaching them how to create a bin, and we used 2 like Rubbermaid containers, stack them up, drill holes in them, and now they have their compost bin. We also offer them the worms, and now they're creating their own tea. For those of you who don't know, tea is wonderful, a wonderful fertilizer for our plants and our gardens. And we teach them 2 different methods processing the worm tea for their gardens. So, communication through this program. We have monthly email newsletters, or we have monthly newsletters, which features different monthly weights of the food scraps that they've collected, that we've collected, and upcoming local events and community cleanup events, also miscellaneous sustainable topics, and then emails and Google Docs that have resources for them. And then they're for composting and so on. And all of this will be adding to our social media platforms with the new nonprofit. We do prefer to email to the neighbors, and that's how I usually do it, but I usually also make extra copies to deliver to the families who are not participating in our compost program, just so that they know what's going on their street. Okay. We also do highlight, let's see, green programs offered to local residents. Additional benefits of this program that we have, it's been quite amazing. We're creating new sustainable, eco-friendly habits. And the neighbors have said, yeah, we've been doing this. It's just like nothing now. We just throw everything in our compost bin. A couple times a week, we walk down and throw it in. I mean, our little container and throw it into our compost. So it's become habit, and everyone it's second nature now. So the other thing that we've noticed is that we get to know our neighbors. In some cases, meet them for the first time. I've lived here for 16 years. I didn't know the neighbors down at the end of the street. I only knew the 2 right next to me. Now I know everyone. And it's great because we are sharing fruits, we're sharing vegetables, we're sharing plants, baked goods, recipes. We need tools. We need, we're borrowing things that I never would have gone to my neighbors before because I didn't know them. So this is a great way to get the whole neighborhood involved. We're also sharing gardening tips and plants, like I said. We're working together on yard projects. So if a neighbor needs help, they come over, or we go over there, help them out, so on and so forth. Sharing and introducing individual services. I'm having one of my neighbors farther down. She's helping me out to create my new website for the nonprofit. And there's also been, I'm a baker, so people are hiring me to do some baking for them. So there's a lot of things going on that in just small little community that just from this program has additional benefit. And it's been wonderful. It's been a great experience. Okay. So, new compost neighborhood leads. So how do we get them? Currently, the master composters for the city of Chula Vista are created through the Living Coast Discovery Center Master Composting Workshop. So the city runs this program through the Living Coast, and they've ran about 1,300 community members through this program, which is hands-on compost training. And then afterwards, those composters are required to go out and teach the community. But there really isn't anything going on in that regard. So that's where I kind of step in, and my program will help to get this going throughout the Chula Vista community. And through this nonprofit, I plan to supply all the compost setup for the lead composters, the bins, the thermostat, the containers, the 5-gallon buckets, everything that's needed to get them started. And then also those starter kits that you saw. I will provide all those for the neighborhood too. And to create, and then we'll be able to create a network of leads throughout the South Bay that if anyone goes on vacation, someone could say, hey, I'm going on vacation, then another lead could step up and say, okay, I'll turn your pile while you're gone. So this is a wonderful network, how it's so simple and basic, how it could spread out. And so I'm really looking forward to this. And it also taps on the doors of all those people who don't have time to compost. They know it's the way to go. They are busy at work with their schedules, and this makes it so easy for them. Much easier than anything that I could imagine. So South Bay, the funding that is going to happen once I become an official nonprofit, we'll be accepting, applying for grants. We'll also be accepting donations. We'll collaborate with local municipalities for supplies and services, business supply donations, collaborate with other organizations on grant applications, and volunteer support. So all those areas will be needing help. So look for us coming up. One other thing we'll be doing is community events. This is something that has to happen to keep the community involved and keep all these neighborhoods that are involved in this program. We'll be doing cleanups for families and groups. We just did a kayaking cleanup 2 weeks ago and removed 250 pounds of trash from the San Diego Bay. We began cleanups, as I think I mentioned in my bio, that I began cleanups back in 2009 as a community. And this Living Coast Discovery Center received their first grant in 2015. So that got us kicked off into the big community cleanups. And last year, for 2019 calendar year, we removed over 27,500 pounds of debris from our local watershed. So that's pretty amazing. And I could easily put all this together. So I'm looking forward to getting help from all of you guys to do these cleanups. And not only that, it's not just going to be Chula Vista now. I will be able to expand all over San Diego to do these cleanups wherever it's needed. So we will also be hosting guided local hikes for families to explore nature with community volunteers who have a background in birding and native birds. Oh, Terry, who could that be? Anyhow, so these are all some of the fun things that we'll be doing as a community when this program gets started, and it will also help our sustainable mission. For information, this is how you could contact us, and if you want to get on our contact list, there's our contact list, bit.ly. So I think that's it, and I want to this concludes my presentation. I want to thank you guys for your time.